it's actually simpler than I would ever have made it because I know too much. I humbled myself and I said, I'm like getting shivers now. I'm like, oh fuck, this is a game changer. Like legitimate game changer.
Welcome back to Real Investing, where we talk about real investing for the everyday investor. I'm here with my buddy,
Ryan Harper. I have nothing other than saying my name.
and my good friend, and the number one podcaster in America. What is it?
The number one investing podcast on Apple.
And that is The Science of Flipping or The Entrepreneur DNA?
The Science of Flipping. The Entrepreneur DNA is number 8 in entrepreneurship.
Gotcha.
So how did you start that? I'm kidding. Okay. We literally were just talking.
We would rather talk about how you got started.
No. The reason I bring that up is because we were just talking about your pet peeve, my pet peeve when it comes to these types of scenarios is like, how did you get started? And the reality is nobody cares.
No.
So you are one of the coolest guys in the flipping space. We're not allowed to hang out together when we go to masterminds, according to Kent Clothier.
Yes, right.
But even more importantly, Donovan Ruffin at the meetup last night had the shirt on that said "Got HUDs," and you're like one of the only real people in the education and information space that not only has HUDs but continues to stack them.
Yeah.
Half your videos on Instagram are like signing a cash out refi or a purchase. You did some loans with Ternus, and you were like such a small package, talking about the loan package. I still get grief about that, but. What's up, man? How is the market? How are customers out there today? Like, how is the real estate market? Like, for real?
I mean, like anybody, you want to find a good deal. And I think that's always going to be the challenging part, is to get it deep enough where it would make sense to be able to have a Ternus come in and be able to fund the deal. I mean, as someone that now has transitioned really heavily, I'd rather try to keep everything I buy. And I know you and I have round and round, like, Colby, but why? And so we can go back and forth with that, because I think you're right to a lot of your points. Like, you're liquidating right now where I'm trying to accumulate. But I think like anybody, it's just the sellers still want more than what's reasonable, for us investors at least. There's a shortage of housing, so they feel like they're justified in it. The interest rates haven't helped, but you and I have talked a lot about this. Like, they're still cheap. The interest rates are not bad. They're bad relative to COVID. COVID is an anomaly. Get over it. Fuck off. This is reality. Like, this is more of our reality for the next decade than 3% will or was. So to me, it's just, you just iterate a little bit. You figure out where's the better money, who has the better relationships, right? Like the fact that I can call you on a day and you say, fuck, give me till tomorrow, we're funding, right? Like, that relationship is so valuable to people like myself because of that. And so you just got to iterate. Right?
What I think, to your point, is perspective. Because like what you just said is people think in relation to COVID or right before COVID, it's like, okay, but what about in the 80s? What about in the late 70s? Like, zoom out.
Yeah.
And people don't like to zoom out. I don't know if it's because of laziness or just ignorance or all
the above. Yeah. They don't want to take in reality, right? So it's like looking in the mirror, right? Like, this thing got messed up, but it's easier for people to point the finger than to look in the mirror and say, it's because I was a shithead that messed it up. Same thing. They don't want to actually come to a realization of, this is reality. You can bitch and complain because it's easier than actually just dealing with reality, right? So, there's challenges, but I'm still buying. I mean, you just saw the video I posted the other day. I signed on a cash out refi. We're going to make like 40 grand, just under 40 grand on a cash out refi on a $100,000 property. Why? Because I know how to buy right. So for me, I want to keep those assets, right? So I want to get to a place where I have about 1,000 single family assets. You might think I'm fucking crazy.
I don't.
And I can respect it because it's not easy, right?
In all fairness though, when you text me about closing that deal, you did have to send me a screenshot of your bank account.
Yeah, I did.
I did not just say, sure, I'll wire the money.
Let's level set.
I need to get that out there. Like, there was a qualification process. It's not get a bunch of followers on Instagram and I'll wire you money.
Yeah.
It's not that.
Yeah, let's level set. Tim doesn't just say, yeah, fuck it, I'll send you money because you called me. No, it's not that.
My phone starts blowing up. Tim, I need $1 million.
That's right.
And then also, I have fun with this one because it's directly in line with what you were talking about. That's why I interrupted. You recently obtained the #1 spot on the investing side ahead of Dave Ramsey. Who I can't stand his advice.
That's
it's anti-wealth, in my opinion.
Agreed.
It's anti-abundance mentality.
That's right.
and you just talked about you're buying these assets, you're stacking assets. Maybe let's talk about, I don't want to talk about your beginning, but kind of the wholesaling mindset versus the way you're getting now. If you want this income, you want these assets. What got you to that point?
Yeah, it really is a great question, because I would tell you, and you've been with me for quite some time, right? Like, I was so transactional for well over a decade. It was always wholesale or fix and flip, right? And that is great, and you can make a lot of income, which is great. But if you spend your income at the club every weekend for a decade,
that is great. No, wait, no.
I would argue there's some great moments. I would say, that would remove the club part. If I could have thought a little bit forward and said, if I could just keep one a year, which is not crazy, I would have had 10 single family assets, which if I would have gotten 15-year loans on them, the first one I bought would be very close to being paid off in full, or have so much damn equity I could strip the equity at it and go buy more. And I could have then started to rapidly accumulate more because of the 10 I bought in the first place. I just didn't have the foresight of that. Like, to me, I was single, young enough. I wasn't young, I'm 43, so we're talking about my 30s. I just cared more about being selfish in that moment, and that was really my intention. I own it. I'll go speak on stage, and I'll say exactly who I was, right? I'm not shy about it. But if I could have just had a little bit more like, I should probably keep one a year, right? And so this all comes full circle.
Or one out of every 100.
Or something. Anything. But that is, and I've lost 7 figures on a development play that I went for the fences on. I lost, right? I've lost $250,000 on a multi-million-dollar flip. And now I say those to say, those aren't my biggest mistakes. It's not having a little more foresight to realize what really matters in this is what we're talking about is wealth accumulation and what I call, which I don't think is a real word, bankability. And maybe it's a real word, but I need bankability. I need to be able to go to the Tims or higher ups and say, hey, I have 10 million in equity. Give me a rolling 2.5 million against my 10 million in equity.
Yeah.
And you and I have just had this discussion today at lunch. I could do a lot with $2.5 million on a turning fast, rapid pace that can create more wealth. And so I say all that to say now is the time that I'm in that journey and I'm running pretty fast. Like, I bought 4 apartments this year. I bought a storage facility. I bought multi-units up the yin yang. Now, I break shit along the way. This isn't like I'm some rock star, like I print money and shit gold. There's challenges. He knows very well some of these challenges, right? I called him for this, like, this fucking contractor piece of shit, right? Takes me for 7 figures. I'm gonna put him in prison. But I say all that to say, but I still bought right. So I still can get out of the scenario where I'm a loser and still win because it's the long play. Right. People are so short-sighted about this game. And I can respect the hustler that wants to go wholesale and fix and flip to make some money, to quit their job, just to increase their money, but get some assets into this. Because if you can go to the banks, if you can call the Tims and in one day get a wire because of what you have, that's where you want to be.
One thing that's interesting about that is so I'm in media. I say it all the time. I'm real estate adjacent just because that's my history.
Sure.
But I'm not in there anymore. And what frustrates me in 2024 is seeing all these so-called influencers like the OnlyFans girls or whoever on TikTok who are seemingly making so much money and then blowing it.
Yeah.
And it's like you have so much opportunity to buy a rental property, to invest in stock, to invest it in wherever it needs to be invested, but they're just putting it at the club. And it's just that selfishness that you were alluding to.
Well, he called me earlier this year. He had a tax problem, and the tax problem was the amount of money he had to send them. He had the money, but having it and giving it away are 2 different feelings.
You didn't buy a plane? You didn't want to go buy a plane?
It was too late. And that's, we share, if I may, part of his even fast-tracking these assets was, I am done giving money to the government.
That's right. That's the answer. And so the next layer to this is not just the bankability, but you should never pay taxes again. No one should if they just know what Tim and I know.
Yeah.
You can do this in a way that you never have to. You're going to cut a check. So wouldn't you rather an asset that can then pay you over time? So I say to everyone, there's 3 reasons you get into real estate. And some people may differ, but income, active income, wholesaling, fix and flipping, income. Increase your income. If you can increase your income, you can have a hell of a life. So if you just ended there, that's pretty fucking cool. I call profits the second one. Profits is like we're liquidating a storage facility. It's going to be almost a $2 million liquidity event. That's profit. Now, and I made money along the way while owning the storage. So income along the way, plus a big profit event, boom, right? Third, never pay taxes again, ever, 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 ever. And it's not that difficult. You just need to know what the industry people actually know, and that's buying assets.
Well, it's funny because like Tim and I have a mutual friend over on Kinwell, and he whiteboarded the no paying taxes real quick for me, and it was very simple. He's like, I own multifamily here, and I own salon suites here, and you know this to here, and it was just, and I was like, yeah, it's that simple because one is you have all the depreciation on this side, and you have all the cash on this side.
It's
and it all equals out.
And some of the smartest people, we just at lunch were talking about this, some of the smartest people in the world, like doctors, that educationally are some of the smartest people that we trust to, give us heart surgery and shit like that. They don't understand the concept. They will make $5 million a year being a heart surgeon, but they're paying, $1.5 million in taxes because they don't get it.
They're paying their fair share.
I mean, I've literally been asked to speak on non-real estate stages to hit this point home because people who we would look up to idle because of their intelligence and potential income, right? Doctors, like surgeons, make a lot of money. They don't even understand how the financial sector was built in our favor because they don't understand how the IRS wrote the code for the real estate section. And so if I can even impact one person from this that isn't particularly or maybe real estate adjacent and say there's a way that you will never have to pay taxes again if you just learn the system to acquire assets that have an ability for a tax write-off in a shorter term, so rapid depreciation versus the long 27 and a half years. You can do both, right? But just spend the money on the asset.
There's one thing, talking about learning the codes and whatnot. And there's a viral clip that goes, I see like probably once a month, where it's Chappelle talking about Trump and how in that first one of those debates with Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump, abuses the tax code, and he's like, yeah, I do it what's in favor because you allow me to. Right. He's like, I know it's broken because I utilize it, or I'm paraphrasing horribly.
Yeah.
But
and I tell people all the time, it's part of my theory on why it really doesn't matter who gets elected, because they all get paid like 150, 200 grand a year and end up being worth $20 million because they write the code that they exploit.
In their favor, yes.
And if you think about it, Congress people and senators will always have to have a second home because they live in one place and they have to work in another.
That's right.
So they are always going to protect that part of their structure.
Yeah, I didn't even think
about
that.
So we can always count on them doing what's best for them,
yep.
And we just need to copy it.
And to that point, and to jump off that, but also to your point earlier, you could sit and complain about it, or just learn the game and play the game.
Just learn it. It's not even that. You don't even need a lot of money. That's the point. People are like, well, I don't have $250,000 sitting around to buy these things, or I don't have $100 grand sitting around. You don't need it. I've raised the apartments alone. I've already raised $5 million. I need to raise another $5 million to finish the apartment projects. It's not hard if you just know what to do and you present it in a way that makes sense to the other person, right? And so, again, it's like you have cheat codes all over. People just aren't willing to learn it, but then they would rather complain about it. And that's where you get frustrated. Like someone like myself that's a true educator, and I actually do what I'm educating on, I don't just sell shit. I get frustrated because the people that would rather complain, I go, you're not, then go away. Like complain somewhere else then, because I can't deal with that.
Well, like one of the things that I'm actively doing right now is because my business is like I try to win bids with the government. I try to win other things. Being on government contracts it's a game. You got to play. You can complain about it, but you got to play the game. So it's like, okay, how do I become a veteran of business? Well, I never thought about doing that, and now I'm going through that process, and I realize, oh, they don't have my records right. So now I'm fighting that. And then it's okay, just so I can have a checkbox. I'm pursuing the Goldman Sachs 10,000 small business, which who knew what that was? Mm-hmm. Well, I know what it is now. Get that checkbox. Going to SMU to get an executive MBA. Why? To get a checkbox. And it's all big. So I looked much better when it comes to winning different contracts and whatnot.
Right.
Yeah. Because there's a game that's being played that we don't realize is being played.
If you just learn that there is the game, then you can learn the rules of the game, and then you can play the game.
Right.
Speaking of games,
Or complain about it and not do it at all.
Yeah.
last night we did a little meetup here in Dallas. Me and your partner Will and you were talking about a specific game of getting deeds in your hand, and then even if the house goes to foreclosure, going and getting the overages from the auction. Another game that most people have no clue exists. And I knew it existed. I don't play the game. I mean, other games. But the minute he said an assignment of overages, the entire business model made perfect sense.
It's incredible.
But you've been doing this for a while. You never really started doing that. You heard about it. You pivoted, went all in on it.
There you go.
Maybe talk a little bit about the mentality that allows you to kind of, I hate to, like, it's humility, right? Like, I don't know everything.
For sure.
If I learn something, it's awesome, I'll do it. Maybe talk about how important that is in surviving business as economies change.
This little Thundercat, little 20, I think he's 29. So he's a great dude. You and I both know him. He's very quickly become one of my closest friends. And we're in boardroom together, and he's like, Colby, I need you to see what I'm doing because I think it's the game changer everyone needs in our space. And he knows I have a platform, and he knows I have an education. So I've done traditional wholesale, fix and flip and buy and hold. Traditional, the same way that everyone has ever heard about it. I've done it. I've done sub 2. I've done foreclosure auctions. I've just done the normal stuff.
Yeah.
Great. He says, you got to bear with me because you're going to think this is confusing, but it's not. And he lays it out for me in like 6 minutes, right? These people are going to lose their home. We stop it. We buy the deed. In the worst case scenario, if we can't stop and actually negotiate the short sale, it'll go to auction, then we can assume the overages. The old man doing this 17 years, I've done the 17 years, I've done 3,000 deals. I'm like, yeah, but, right? I'm like the old dog. But that's not possible. But what about this? And what about, to the point where he yelled at me, stop, you're thinking too much. You're unwinding a simple process because you're trying to convolute it. And I had to look at myself and say, oh, I'm the type of person that I get frustrated at right now. It's actually simpler than I would ever have made it because I know too much, right? So I am trying to engineer and architect this problem essentially about the what if scenario that really isn't even there. And so when I kind of recognized that, I humbled myself and I said, I'm like getting shivers now. I'm like, oh fuck, this is a game changer. Like legitimate game changer. And essentially, I've even internally in my own business after 17 years, I'm in the middle of making a pretty hard, significant pivot. And it's been awesome. I just got a text today. This month is the 16th today, 16th. 24 deeds we've bought so far this month. 24. And by the way, most of the deeds are coming from coaching students who have never done a deal before in their life. And because this is so simple, it expedites how they can go get their first deal. And by the way, we are offering more value to the homeowner than any other strategy. These homeowners think we are like Jesus walking on water, crying all the time, thankful, oh my God, you saved us. And it's because we are literally being able to stop a scenario that they no longer have control over or they don't care about anymore. They've just succumbed to the fact that they're going to be foreclosed on, that the government from the tax lien is going to foreclose on them or the bank is going to, and we stop it.
So what are you buying the deed for?
Potentially $0, depending upon if the homeowner is that far gone. I've already moved, I already bought another home, I don't care about the property, screw that thing, fuck it, I'm out, here we do.
Yeah.
Send us over the deed, I'll give you a mobile notary, I'll stop the foreclosure for you, and give me a power of attorney so we can negotiate on your behalf with the banks. Cool, great. Yeah, sure, I don't care.
Because their motivation is just, hey, I don't want to foreclosure.
I don't want 7 years of credit.
Yeah, they don't want the ding.
That's it. Now, a short sale will still ding them. I mean, listen, they stopped paying their mortgage. They've been dinged.
Right.
But you're talking a 24-month turnaround versus a 72-month turnaround on your credit. And so
best case $0, average
$4,000 to buy a home, to buy a real home. like
get a
4
deed.
walls, roof. This isn't $4,000 for like earnest money deposit. This is you own the asset. And then the real secret sauce, and Will, I know, is going to be a guest. We own the loss mitigation company that negotiates against the banks. Now, anyone can go and buy deeds. Anyone can get a power of attorney. That is not the secret sauce. The secret sauce is the individuals that we are partners with and own the company with wrote the Fannie Mae guidelines for the last 8 years. They wrote the laws of how to stop short sales, what's approvable, what's not approvable, how do you move in these different, they wrote them.
So I buy a deed for $4,000,
Yeah.
and saying it's a $100,000 ARV house, because those
Let's go with $200,000.
those exist.
We're old
Yeah,
still.
yeah.
you
Because
know?
those exist, yeah. Like okay, a $250,000 house.
Yeah.
They're I don't know, they still owe 100 on it, and they're
Sure.
20 in the rears or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah. It's all day. This is what we do all the time.
So, but then is it you renegotiate, and then how much do you owe on the note? Or,
Well, that's where the loss mate guys negotiate to the bank, saying, "Hey, we see the value as is as 100,000. They owe you 120. Let's find a meeting ground. ARV is 250, sure, but as it stands right now, we're seeing the numbers like this." Now, the key is they know exactly the right person to call. They're not. If I call in to the bank, I'm getting junior associate,
Yeah.
somewhat like can't make a decision. They call in, they're getting executive vice president, like, do you want this on the books or not? Let's meet at 80 grand. I'm making up numbers, but
Right.
you get my point, right? They are the key power. And so what I say to that is just say, we work out a number enough that now we have equity and we can figure out what we're going to do.
At
So
that
you-
point, they refi,
That's right.
they fix and flip,
That's right.
they wholesale to another investor, they dispo the house.
So you're basically, just to like really zoom out, paying a $4,000 assignment fee to get rights to this property that could be, you could make hundreds of thousands of dollars of profit.
100%.
Got it.
And other, like, we could also
And I totally understand that assignment fee is not the right terminology.
That's right.
It's
But
just,
you pay a fee to the seller to say, hey, thank you for allowing us to take over here, right? I get it. You need some moving money. You need some living, whatever.
When, by the way,
And-
everybody else is telling them they're hosed and we can't help you.
Yeah.
Right.
That's why they think they're like, no, you can't. That would be like walking on water. Well, yes, we can. Watch. No one else knows what we know and knows how to do it, right? This is where our frustration comes with agents who are short sale experts. But the home's been on the market 382 days. How's it going for you, baller? You're an expert, right? And then they give it, well, why can't I negotiate it? Literally, how's it going for you so far? It's been 382 days and
Right.
you can't get the deal done, right? And so then I'm a little passive aggressive. By a little, I mean a lot. And I say, so I know the only thing you actually care about, Mr. Realtor, is your client. I know you just don't want them to really have a ding for 7 years. That's why you're in this, right? It's really to help the people. Now, let me do one better. I know that that's what your answer is. So let me just tell you this. I'm also going to make sure you look after you, and I'm going to make sure you get paid your commission. Because guess what they actually give a shit about?
their commission.
It's the only thing they give a shit about. Respect to all my agents out there.
Well, show me how you pay. This is a lesson for business owners too. Show me how you compensate someone, and I'll show you how they perform.
That's right. And so
Period.
it's the conversation. It's always what's in it for me, right? I did this at our meetup last night. I talked to the people. I was like, hey, you want to get what you want from your wife? Right? The whole time you're thinking, I want to have pizza for dinner. Well, what do you need to go do in the conversation? Because she's thinking, what's in it for me? Right? Or I want a nice steak or whatever. You're going to make her work to get you what you want. So you go offer some freaking value, and then you're going to end up with what you want. So it's the same thing. Everyone's always thinking in every conversation, what's in it for me? What's in it for me? What's in it for me? That's human nature. I'm not judging anybody. Everyone does this.
Honey, look at this new bottle of wine.
Yeah,
They say it pairs great with cheese pizza.
that's right. So what I say is
And
just
that
like,
also pairs with this nice bottle of Imodium. For the 43 years,
and
for the
Alka-Seltzer.
43-year-old pluses in the room.
that's right. A lot of Alka-Seltzer these days.
Yeah.
It's so anyways, I bring the, like, to your original question, like, I saw around the corner because I am older, but because I'm humble enough to say I don't know it all, I need to pivot, the market's different, there's a shortage of assets, the interest rates aren't perfect right now. Oh my God, this is, right? And so when you can adapt and you can innovate, you'll have longevity.
So contractors seems to be a big issue with you.
No, they're the best.
Not only the individual you spoke of earlier, but on one of the houses that you guys borrowed from Ternus on, your guy Anthony that kind of runs your boots on the ground stuff. You're pretty high level. He's like, we had a contractor we had to fire. We had another one that stole money from us, and now we're almost done. And I'm like, player.
Totally.
But I want to talk specifically about living in Miami.
Yep.
Investing in North Carolina and Alabama and Oklahoma and Texas. A lot of people say they live in California.
Yeah.
Not a whole lot of great deals in a lot of parts of California.
Totally.
They're thinking about investing across state lines. You teach the science of flipping, and I know you talk a lot about remote management. What are some things that you have screwed up on post-COVID that you're aware of?
Yeah, right.
That you think would help someone to not do?
I think if I have to be honest, anyone can virtually do this business, but if you don't have team or network, it's infinitely that much more risky, right? And so I luckily am in a position, especially since I built my brand prior to COVID, that I'm able to lean on a lot of people, whether it be through the masterminds or just having a presence online. So if you are going to actually fix and flip, if you're going to actually buy the asset, and you don't have the resources, the connections, or even structuring a partnership with someone at local, then I would usually say, if you're going to spend money, do it in your backyard. Because then you can go see it, you can go down to the city, you can go make an impact. The deal that we're talking about is in San Antonio. The contractor did A+ work on the number, everything was great. He just didn't tell the city I need a permit to do it. So the city looked at it and said, wait a minute, you did all this with no permit and stopped us. And now we can't list it until, so it's been like 5 months that I'm paying Tim for nothing, and it's sitting there and it's already done. And we're just like trying to get the city across the finish line. So, but if that was in a market I was in and I could have been in conversation, it eases the ability to get in front of those problems, right? I firmly believe you can do this in any city, any state, anyone can do it. The risk level of doing it in a market that you don't have people, and by the way, I have people in San Antonio. We have a project manager who she didn't obviously do this one thing. But I didn't know to ask her because everything was going so smoothly, I just kind of assumed. Right. So I look at myself at that. I don't actually look at her to say, why didn't you? It's my money, it's my business. I need to say, fuck, I should have thought about, we're doing a pretty massive rehouse on this shit-stained property. Did we need a permit for that? Did you ask about the permit? And I didn't.
Well, that goes that extreme ownership, Jocko Willink, where it's always your fault.
By the way, it is. He's dead on for all of it.
Yeah.
And people who want to point the finger or try to make excuses about the economy or interest rates or anything, stop. Well, it is always your fault.
Because like even in that situation, it's like, well, no shit, you should have got a permit. But at the same time, it's like, did I train my team enough to ask, did you get a permit? And it always, people think it's like, it's easy to blame other people.
I'll roll it back. I'm the lender on the thing, and I didn't look for a permit line item.
Right.
I didn't.
No, I would never blame you. I mean, you may or may not even have to.
My team didn't know to look.
Yeah.
Well, but I think it's a case study for me as a new growing company. I went back and said, okay, guys, they had permit issues. When we see foundation, plumbing, electrical, like when we see all these things, we need to start making sure there are line items for code and ordinance and permits. And not saying I would force you to pull permits,
sure,
but it does go into the amount of time it takes to complete the project.
But you could have helped me
budget.
and said, hey, Justin, did you see if you're going to need some permits? Like, then you would have reminded me. Oh,
and
I didn't
by the way,
tell.
that's what we exist for, is to do that.
Yeah, I mean, little things like that. Now, it's not your problem. I would never blame you, but that helps me as a team member to say, oh, fuck, I forgot. Thank you. But hey, did we go ask about permitting for this?
And I think another lesson there, and what I'm hearing about, going back to that, just that 29-year-old lesson, is the ability to be humble.
Yeah.
Having humility, and even, I've done gajillions of dollars worth of business. It's like, yeah, but I could still make mistakes. And being okay with making mistakes and just going, okay, how do I not do that next time?
One of my business partners said something in San Diego last year. You were there, Brandon. He said you can never win a championship with a clean jersey. And to this day, I'm like, God, that's a fucking great quote. That's a great quote. You can never win a championship with a clean jersey. And it's just right every time, right? You don't think Elon Musk has taken his lumps, or Steve Jobs, anyone who has created anything of any sort of value takes lumps. Ternus hasn't been perfect.
No.
You're going to iterate over time.
Yep.
That's the problem with Dallas Cowboys. They look too pretty.
Well, and your quarterback's terrible.
He's the highest. No.
He is the. He is the highest
Welcome to
paid.
Real Investing, where we talk all things Dallas Cowboys.
That's right.
All right, so I want to transition also to Rocket League.
Yeah.
You are not a tech guy. You literally use a Gmail address with numbers in it.
How do you use this thing? Like, it's bad.
But now you're in the founding level of a tech company
Yeah.
in the real estate investing space. Maybe tell me why and what.
Great question. So I built something for my own real estate business. So I focus on lead generating and then profitability, because who cares about anything else at the end of the day? What is my bottom line margin? And so I realized I was spending so much money on marketing, I wasn't being efficient with the conversions and profitability of the company. So I said, all right, well, instead of, and I've been around a long time, 17 years, I've done the escalation of operations, big office, big team, boom, boom, boom. Profitability is shit because you have bloated costs, right? So running this back on this round, when I was looking at efficiencies, I said, why don't I start to build out, especially with the AI here, why don't I build out some tech efficiencies for the lead generating, lead capturing, lead nurturing, and then contracting, right? So I built out this platform for my own business because we spend so much money. So I wanted profit acceleration, okay, which is really what we consider Rocket League, is like a profit accelerator, right? And so I built this out, and we have a mutual friend who came and said, Justin, I've seen this. I don't think you understand what you've built. And I'm like, I think it's cool. What do you think? He's like, oh, this is big. This is a tech play. This isn't a real estate play. If you're open to it, I'd like to throw this at a couple people who've had some really large 9-figure exits out of the Bay Area and just take their eyes and see what they think about it. I'm like, sure.
Yeah.
Have fun. Like,
You have me at 9.
yeah. So I'm like, okay, because I don't know what I have. I built it for my own business. He comes back to me and says, all right, we need to actually meet. Come fly to DC. We have a really big conversation to have, and this could be something way beyond what you would ever think. So he took it to his small group of people that he's been investors with certain tech plays and whatever. They came back and said, this has more than just legs. You have a TAM, for those that don't understand, total addressable market, way larger than real estate. You are going to go into every home service, from roofing to HVAC to flooring to siding to you name it, solar. You could take it wider than that. But based around what we built, which is really a lead gen profitability center, so we can bring in as many leads, so we can capture an extra 25% of leads at no more marketing spend. So if I spend 10 grand a month, I'll get 25% more leads. Well, that brings my cost of lead down, cost of deal down, et cetera, et cetera. So if you're a roofing company and you're trying to find leads, you would need this type of service also. That's what everyone got excited about. They said this goes to realtors, it goes to investors, but then it goes everywhere. So we are in the middle of a friends and family round. We hired a massively talented, extremely experienced CEO who's had 3 9-figure exits already. He said, this is my last go around. This is it. This is my ride out. This is my stamp on the Silicon Valley to say, I did it 4 times and I'm out. We brought in a CFO that has had 24 multi-million-dollar exits. And so this is a real deal. And you know, you heard some conversation already today. Like, I had a call today I'm in the conversation for 10 minutes and I give it to my CEO because it is not my strong suit. But I know that. I know my strong suit is calling Tim and say, hey, we're in a friends and family round. Would you be interested in having a further conversation? He says, sure, dude, I love you, I trust you, I'm interested in seeing what's up. Well, now I'm talking to Tim's partner, right? So that's my strong suit. And I leverage that.
Vision, and we stop there.
That's it. And then I just say, hey, let me surround myself with some really heavy horses. And if I do that, and I've done it my whole career, that is a lot of the reason for my success, is I can go create the vision, the mission, I can get the engine started, but then I need the heavy horse, the thoroughbred, to come in and then just keep this thing running.
When you're bringing in these high-level C-suite people, are you paying them salary, or are you just giving them straight equity?
In this specific example, salary plus.
Okay.
Right, so he has a board seat, he has salary, and then he has an upside if we get this to where we need it to go.
Well, look, I mean, that's the same thing that I did with Ternus, and it's one of the reasons that we're going to, lose so much money this year. It's part of the plan.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
Tax
the
write-offs.
vision is mine. Not tax write-offs, more investment. The vision is mine. And I know better than I would argue anyone exactly what the customer needs from a lender, because I've done it wrong so many times. And I've been the Wall Street backed lender guy, and I know what our customers think about that. But I'm not a mortgage guy. I mean, I've done a lot of loans and I understand them in and out, sideways and forwards, but I'm not a mortgage guy. So like my VP of sales, 25 years plus in the mortgage industry. He's managed sales teams of over 70 people, including like AVPs and producing salesmen, all that. My VP of ops, she's closed upwards of 1,000 loans a month in the mortgage industry by running all the operations division. My controller, 25 years, Lacey has 25 years too. My controller, 25 years in accounting, finance, mortgage related, family office, private equity, etc. And then my EVP, Robert, he's the only one that's been in the single family investment industry for the last 10 years as an executive. And he's got 40 years of strategy and marketing. So when I sat at the offsite, the leadership strategy meeting, it wasn't about me and the vision. I got the first 10 minutes. The next day and a half was me leaning heavily on them to force them to tell me what they need to be successful. And then now my job, just like you're on these calls, is to go get them what they need. Go get them the financing, go get them the plan, go get them the capital, make sure that everything's tied together. And the moderator or the facilitator said one thing that was very important. Consensus is not required after we leave this room. Only compliance. But in this room, consensus is required. Because if we are a leadership team and we're going to leave here and say we're going to do 1,700 loans next year, nobody gets to say in March, well, I never agreed to that, right? Like the plan has to have consensus. Now, after that, the day-to-day, the decisions that are made, if Lacey makes a decision and I back it, everyone else doesn't have to agree with her decision. But they do have to comply, because we've brought her on to get us to the point. We all trust her. She's the right person to make that decision. You're not. But when it comes to managing the sales team, she may not have to have consensus. That's Brian's job. And if I agree with him and there's a majority opinion, we go that direction. So I think it's bringing people on that have gotten someone else there before, or gotten themselves there, or demonstrated the ability to do it, and then get the hell out of their way.
Mm-hmm.
I like it.
I mean, I think that's how they all grow. I mean, I think the Elons, the Steves, the Zuckerbergs, they're still tacticians to the highest level of what they do, but all of them have an ability to lead through the leadership component, right? Whether you think Zuckerberg is cool or not, people follow him like a crazy person, right? So that's the key to any organization. Have the people that know it, and then you can go and run it.
Well, but they're not tacticians, though, because they're just focused on the main thing. Jobs, his thing was, we will innovate, we will be different, we will buck trends no matter what. He wasn't in there writing code.
No.
Right? Zuckerberg, it's all about whatever craziness that man can dream up.
That's
Elon, right? Like,
They're the
I guess
visionaries.
Elon's actually writing code, but
Still.
yeah.
Still.
So what's next? I mean, big podcaster, this deed reverse flipping thing.
I'm going to run that. I think, my partner Will is the genius. And so I'll run that. I mean, I don't think that's a slow down model. I don't care the economy. There's pain, financial pain all the time. Where there's a lot of value to the homeowner, a lot of value to the banks, frankly. And so I think I'm going to run that until the exit of the asset hits, and then what's next. But for me, it's being able to iterate and adapt. I'm always going to be in real estate, regardless of whatever's going on. Kind of keep my head down, right? I told my wife I have 36 months. I'm going to keep my head down for 36 months. I'm going to go as hard as I physically can go, and then I'm going to look up. I'm going to figure out, where am I standing? Where am I at? How far have I gone? Where's the goalpost? Figure it out from there.
Well, man, I appreciate you coming in for this.
Yeah.
Great idea on that meetup last night. I had a lot of fun.
Yeah, do it again.
Final thoughts?
No, I love these conversations because it's like we said before we started rolling cameras. You never know where the conversation is going to go. We have no agenda, and let's just go. And then, I think I alluded to earlier the humility aspect of, regardless of how successful you are, being humble enough to hear from an advisor that, hey, you should pivot, or maybe not pivot, but hey, here's an opportunity, and not be so closed-minded or living in that echo chamber of like, yeah, but,
Right.
So instead, just listen more versus just like, quashing an idea or whatnot.
Yeah, listen instead of talk, right? We have 2 ears, one mouth for a reason. So Will grabbed me, said, use your fucking ears this time, Colby. So I did. But I mean, Tim, you're a shining example of what we're talking about, right? You saw how typical hard money lending was going. You said there's a better way. I know it. I can innovate it. I can adapt to it, and I'm going to go build it. And here we are at Ternus.
Here we are, and here we go. Thanks for stopping by. We'll see you next week.